All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Creators Corner. We've got a regular man, you're becoming like a regular guest here.
I
At least
love
like
being the regular YouTube guy. I'll take it. I love it.
yeah. No, that's awesome. Awesome. Guys, you guys all know Joshua Wethington, YouTube strategist, expert, guru, professional, manages a lot of really big brands and channels and stuff. And so he's always very gracious to come in and really talk about the things that we need to understand when it comes to YouTube. There's so many moving parts, but today we're going to be focusing on YouTube analytics. So if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Use hashtag Josh. That way I can pick it out. We are going live on multiple channels here: YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook groups and pages. So good to see. Yeah, man. Well, good to see you, man. Really quickly, for people that may be just coming in new, if you are new, say hello, hashtag new. But yeah, say who you are, what you do, and say hello to everyone out there.
Sounds good.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm Joshua Wethington. I go by the handle Video Joshua on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all those places. I've been started out as a full-time video agency. So I was just shooting videos about 2010, figured out all the content I was shooting for my clients they were putting on YouTube, and then embedding into their blogs in the early days of content marketing and when having a company blog was the big thing. And so I kind of started to focus on YouTube. I've started, I guess now probably 3 YouTube agencies, have bought and sold 2 of them. Don't plan on doing that ever again. I'm just by myself. And I've worked with some of the largest brands in the world, just everything from electronics to cellular to I've actually been in the beauty space for the last 3 years. I've done like B2B. I've done home improvement stuff. Just you name it. I have probably talked to somebody about that vertical on YouTube and how they can use that to grow their business, make more money, and just have fun creating video content. I'm super passionate about it. And lately I've been working a lot with TubeBuddy in the kind of the background. And I'm finally, after almost 10 years of doing this, launching my own channel. And I was talking to Rob after our last live stream. I said, I always get these questions about YouTube analytics. So I need a channel that I can use because I can't show my clients channels. And I'm just going to record like this whole thing on Studio Analytics because they just updated it and it's really awesome and it's useful. And Rob's like, hey man, just use my channel. I don't care. Like, here, just go and do it. So
go for it.
I've gone through the first cut of that right now. It's probably going to be released next week on my YouTube channel, so I'll leave a link down below. But I told Rob, like, let's just do a crash course on it. Let's do a live thing, and I can kind of do like an overview, answer some questions, and then anything we don't get to, I should have answered in this course because I spent a lot of time shooting it. So awesome.
Yeah. No, really excited for this course, man. More than happy to let you use my channel as a guinea pig or whatever you want to call my channel for this purpose. But it's awesome. So good to see everyone here that's tuning in live again. We're here with Joshua Wethington. We're going to be talking about YouTube analytics and really how to uncover some of the opportunities that are in our analytics. I'm starting to learn that now. I'm starting to pay attention to it more and more as I upload more regularly and really start really focusing and growing my channel. So yeah, Josh, let's dive into it. I want to say what's up to Anthony's Tech, CJ Henderson. We got Graham here. Graham's got a really good question. We'll get into Q&A here very quickly. That's what this is going to be about. It's not going to be an interview this time. Today's anyway. It's going to be more Q&A and Josh, giving us a crash course. So Graham's got a good question here about side-by-side comparisons of growth curves. So we'll get into that. Eileen is here. Just Samson is here. You got Jeff here as well. So, Josh, give us a really quick introduction to analytics, just so that, we have some framework of what we're looking at here. Obviously, this is my channel. So, guys, be gracious and, take it easy. But Yeah, yeah.
I found a few things that we can work on for your channel while I was diving
man.
around.
I've got my notes, so this is a free consultation. Perfect.
There you go. Yeah, I'll give it to you. So first of all, huge congratulations to Rob. He just passed 1,000 subscribers. He's a partner program material now.
Yeah,
as they say. It's crazy because you passed it. I think what was it? Just like last week, and you've already grown 150 subscribers since then.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and it's always, everybody thinks of YouTube kind of as this linear curve, and when you look at the data, you can definitely tell it's always exponential growth. So it's really hard to get to 1,000 subscribers, but that's harder than getting to 10,000. 10,000 is harder than getting to 100,000, as long as you keep feeding the beast. So and why I wanted to do this is because I know most YouTube creators and even most brands that I work with, they're all creatives, or they're kind of like, just business people. It's very rare to find somebody like me that understands creative and can also look at a spreadsheet and not want to like hang themselves right away. I enjoy both of them, and as long as I have balance of both of those things in my life, it's really cool. So real quick crash course. So like everybody knows, when you go to the home screen of analytics, you get like the overview and kind of like the main drag part. I'm going to adjust this screen, trying to make it to where it's not too small for you guys.
That's good.
So YouTube does like a really great job of visualizing the data, and it's way more interactive. And it's actually so interactive, it took me a while to get used to it, because I was just used to like super web 2000s, like side navigation and clicking like a few buttons. But you have an overview chart, and if you're not gonna look at your analytics at all, at least come and look at this at least once or twice a month. This is just a great thermometer of where your channel's at. So real quickly, you can see where your views are, where your watch time is, where your subscriber growth is, and then also on your overview chart, you have these little playheads, and if you sit there and hover of it, you can actually see when you've released a video. And it kind of gives you the title, the thumbnail, and the date that you released it. So you can kind of really see, is your programming steady? And are my views going up as I'm steadily increasing it, or whatnot? You can focus on, or you can view real-time analytics right over here. Of course, if you go into that, you can see what your channel's doing in real time from a 48-hour standpoint and a 60-minute standpoint. I really only bothered to look at this if we just released a video for a client that, like we put some extra work into, maybe we're hoping it's going to get a lot of shares and stuff like that. So that's really the time when I focus on real time, because I really need to see how that video is performing in the first 48 hours. And it's really interesting that it's 48 hours and not 7 days or anything like that. And that really does kind of lean into what all of us say is, like the first 48 hours of a video being launched is critical. It's not necessarily the time of day or the day you put it on. It's just how much traffic does that video get in the first 48 hours, because YouTube is A/B testing this video like crazy. It's promoting it a little bit more than it normally would, because it's trying to get that feedback on the impressions, the click-through rate, how long somebody's watching, what's that average view duration is. And if they click off of that, if they go to another video, or if they like leave YouTube altogether, because we do know that they care about the overall session time, which is how long each individual viewer stays on YouTube.
Awesome.
So
Josh, quick question then. Right before we move forward. So time of day, because like right now, YouTube just released the when your viewers are online, right? That cool purple graph. Like, it's really cool, but is it really useful? Like, it's, I'm getting that question a lot because I shared a little quick video that you can see that. So does the time of day really, is it such a big factor, or
a lot of people put, I think, too much emphasis on it. It's nice. And you got to remember, your audience is always changing and evolving. Every channel turns their audience. So like the 1,000 people that are subscribed to your channel right now are probably always going to stay subscribed. But in 10 months time, those 1,000 subscribers probably aren't going to be as active. So, so your audience is always kind of, it's growing and churning and stuff like that. So I think it's more important to program that on the human side. So I was born in '84. I'm definitely like an '80s kid, have very vivid memories of the '90s. So when I was in elementary school, I knew I had to be home by 5 p.m. every night, not because dinner was on, but because Simpsons was going to premiere on Fox Monday through Friday. And The Simpsons was the coolest show. Me and all my friends watched it. It's what you talked about the next day on the bus. And if you missed it, you were like out of the loop and you had nothing to say, like in the morning to all your friends, like you were just socially rejected. So I had that human habit programmed into me. Now YouTube is on demand. We can always go to the content, but that habit, that human habit of programming and letting your audience know, like Rob, you try to do a live stream like 2 or 3 times a week on this channel. Yeah. If you upload something on a very consistent basis. So maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, you're doing live streams through your the Creators Corner. And on Tuesday and Thursday, you upload more of your standard like tutorial content about LinkedIn or live streaming or just like your vlogs, whatever. If you get into that habit as your audience grows, they just kind of know that. That's why we're always like, if you have an upload schedule, communicate that so your audience can start to learn that. And it just kind of, you know, we've all kind of gone through the whole daily content thing, and it worked for a few people, but not a lot. It's more, and we're in this time now where you can't compete on quantity. So it really has kind of shifted back to quality. And a lot of channels, it's better to upload one solid piece of content on a regular basis, week after week after week, to grow your channel than just be really random and be like, okay, I have 5 pieces of content here. I have like 2 pieces here. I wait a month. There's another video. That inconsistency is what's hard to build an audience from a human standpoint, because they never know when you're there. So
gotcha.
Features like that are really cool. They're insightful. It's kind of like looking at your audience to see, like, obviously I'm in Texas. If the majority of my audience is in Central, I know that my audience is a little bit more active in the morning. I'm more active on YouTube in the mornings, kind of like around lunch and then in the late evening. It would be dumb for me to like release videos that were at midnight Central Time because I know my audience isn't there. So use it as like a barometer to gauge it. And then after that, it's more the consistency that matters.
Got it. Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
So you got your overview, you got your real-time thing, and then you have your top videos for this period. So this is just a really great snapshot. And by default, it displays 10. You can always go and hit show more to see more of your videos. But for the time period that you're filtered in, this shows your top 10. So like right now, by default, YouTube always defaults to the last 28 days. If I go over to the last 90 days, you see some of these videos switch and they change rank because we're looking at it through a different frame of time. If I go last 365, they change a little bit more. And it's really important when you are looking at your analytics, everything is kind of determined by this date range filter. I typically look at my channel from like a 28-day, like a once a month. I look at it as a 90-day trend. And then after that, I go out to like maybe 2 years. And I only do that on channels that have been around for a long time because I'm trying to figure out if there's any seasonal trends to that channel. So if you have like a DIY channel where you're doing a lot of home decorations or you're doing a lot of home baking, those channels always get a lift towards the holidays because you're entertaining, you're trying to make decorations, centerpieces, you know, people want to bake easy desserts or easy side dishes for Thanksgiving. So those channels always get this influx kind of about mid to late October all the way through Thanksgiving. And then they kind of drop back down. You know, if you have a summer grilling channel, obviously when it's, you know, March to June, you know, sometimes September, depending on where you live in the country, when people are outdoor grilling, you're going to see a boost in those things because that's a seasonal trend that your channel just happens to tap into. So it's really nice looking at your data from that standpoint to see that. But I pretty much keep a 28, kind of like a 90-day viewpoint to see how the channel's really performing kind of like in real time.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because even on that screen, you'll see that Restream video that's on the top there. it like by far like is always at least double even the second ranking video at like probably for the last 3-4 months. And I don't even, I mean, I started using Restream again, but this is a really old, I mean, relatively older video. You know, I feel like it wasn't really, I feel like it was really long, and, you know, it was like almost a year ago, maybe 8-9 months ago.
Yeah.
It was really long. It took me like 3 or 4 minutes to get to the actual thing that I was going to talk about. Like I had a really long introduction, but it's interesting that it keeps getting shared, and, you know.
So there's kind of like a natural thing, and this is actually a great video to talk about. So if you guys saw, I just basically went and clicked on it. So like right now I'm looking at the channel view, looking at the channel as a whole. Clicked on the video. Now I'm in the video level of the analytics. It kind of tells you up here, you see the thumbnail. I can click on this to watch it. So yeah, you're right. You uploaded this video June 19th, 2019, right when you were kind of really starting to take YouTube seriously.
Yep.
And you were starting to vlog and do stuff. I think this is about the time we met.
Yep.
And you can kind of see that it's just kind of like this steady, even pace. And then like right around here, it exponentially went up. Well, what happened around mid-March? Everybody had to stay at home, and everybody was trying to figure out how to produce videos. Like people like me that would go out into the world and shoot vlogs and stuff like that. We couldn't do that. So how do we stay in front of our audience? We have to figure out how to live stream, even if we haven't live stream. And all these brands are trying to figure out how to live stream. I have 3 clients right now I'm helping produce live streams for that have never done a live stream until this time. So that's why you have that spike. So that's just kind of like the outside influence of this spike and why it's taken off. So it's nice to see that. Typically on older channels in this view, some of you may see like this gray line or this gray bar that's kind of underneath it. That is the performance of a typical video on your channel. And then the blue line is this individual video. So YouTube made it really easy to see, you know, is this a typical video for you, or has it broken out? And I think in a few more months, once YouTube kind of knows what the typical performance of your channel is, Rob, you're going to see that this is one of your breakout videos just because of the subject matter and the time that we're in. But you talking about, let's go down to the audience retention. And this is one of the major tools I look at. Is you said, you know, you took about 3 minutes to even get to the topic. So if we kind of like play around here, I'll mute it. What's really cool is this graph shows the relative audience attention of the viewership that have looked at this. So you can kind of see, you don't have like a hockey stick. It didn't like drastically drop off at the beginning, but it's like, just kind of waving there. And then, hey, Restream attention starts to go up because that's what you're talking about. It's in the title. And then while you're talking about Restream and how to set it up and do all this, it gets good. And then you probably right around here, and we're all guilty of it, you're finishing your setup. Somewhere around here, you're like, all right, man, that's it. Like, thanks so much for watching this. You go into that typical, all right, thanks so much for watching. Last thing, like, I hope you enjoyed this video. All of these catchphrases that we just use out of habit to close a video are all engagement signals for our audience to stop paying attention, start looking in suggested video, and go there. So one of the things I would say to you about this video is, one, yes, absolutely. Like the whole tease hook intro, cram that down into 20 seconds and get to the topic faster. And that will kind of keep the retention higher. And then when you, and this is harder for YouTubers to think of, instead of saying like in summary or in closing or thanks so much for watching, subscribe, like what, when you're shooting your videos, think about your library or the next video you're going to shoot if it has to go along with that. And how can you conversationally pitch the viewer over to your next viewer without making it seem like summary? So in the analytics series that I'm editing right now, you know, my first video is all about the overview tab. And then I'm like, okay, so next is the reach tab. And this reach is basically all about your traffic sources. So you can really figure out how your content is searched and discovered right now on YouTube. And that's where you can get all that information about that. If you want that, go watch that video over here. thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if I gave you any value, and, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace, whatever.
Yep.
But I kind of set up that other video conversationally. So you didn't know that this video was ending until I was like, click the link over here, because I know where I'm going to put my end screens. And I know that's going to be the next video in the series. So I try to always pitch the next video or a similar video to what I have in my library.
Awesome. 2 quick questions. So where the drop off starts at the end, that's probably probably a good place to put in a card at this point, like to put in like the next, whatever the next suggested video might be, like a card there. And then my second question is, okay, yeah, we'll answer that question first.
What's the second question?
And the second question is, you know how at the end card you get 20 seconds? Is it good to use the entire 20 seconds, or should it be like sort of shorter? Because then if the next video that's being suggested is your video, then it'll just kind of like there's less gap in between the videos to get into the next one. So
both really great questions. About the cards, I actually wouldn't put a card this far into the video, because since you have some data on it, you can see that the average view duration is 2 minutes, 24 seconds. So my strategy for my clients has always been, I look at the average view duration for the last 90 days. So let's just, on this one specific, it's really similar, 2.5 minutes.
Yep.
And I make sure that I put all my cards before that average view duration ends. Because YouTube's giving me the data that, hey, most of your audience has left by this point. So anything after that, I am drastically decreasing the chance that somebody's going to see that card. So I might as well stack the deck in my favor. And like my card strategy is always, my most popular video that I know that generates me a ton of watch time or a ton of subscribers, I always promote that card. I always promote a playlist. So like right now, for probably the next 6 months on my channel, I'm probably point everybody to this YouTube analytics course that I've done, just because I know that's content that people want to consume, and I want to push as much traffic organically as I can.
Yep.
And then for you, if you had another tutorial, so like for this video or for you, I would probably, since this is your most popular video, I would point to your other Restream content. So you have kind of like a lot of streaming stuff in a playlist. I would point stuff over there. And then I would say, well, if somebody's interested in Restream, maybe they don't want to pay for that service, but StreamYard, like what we all use to broadcast, is a good alternative. So maybe I'll publish or point to that video where you're giving an intro to StreamYard, because it's a complementary product. You can either use this or that. You can use them in combination.
Right.
But that's what I would do. And then for the end screens, I would do all 20 seconds, because the longer something's up there, the better. It's just, you have to remember, end screens, you can create your own template. I typically, because people are used to looking to the right, and there used to be this really old metric, like when we were all in web design, if something was on the right-hand side, people were more likely to click on it because of how web was designed. And if you notice, YouTube purposely put that card over there and actually changed the interface probably about like 2013, whenever cards came out. Yep. They actually changed the entire interface of YouTube. That used to be where the branded watermark was. It was in the top right corner. They moved it to the bottom right so they could put cards there, because they had the data saying that people were used to clicking up there. So for me personally, just based on that data and historical nerdy stuff, I always put my end screen elements on the right side of the frame. So I'm very, very cautious when I am shooting my closings. When I'm in my kind of production mode, I always make sure that I frame myself to the left, so I can be over there and the end screen elements aren't covering up my face, because that's always annoying. So I always put myself on the left third, because I know to the right, I'm going to have those end screen elements. So that way people can still see me talking to the camera. And I always know that I'm going to put my playlist in the top one, and the best for viewer in the bottom. So I just know I'm going into it. That's how I'm shooting my content. So I can always say like, hey, watch the next video in this series there, or check out this video because it's something that you're probably interested in, because I'm using that best for viewer feature. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So playlist, and then the best for viewer card. Do you suggest, like a specific video, be like, hey guys, watch this next tutorial on how you do XYZ, because like it's connected to the current video. Like, for example,
and if you're in like a series of something like that,
yeah.
I'm developing some series for my content, I will always pitch the next video that I know that's in the series, because I want to keep people in that playlist environment. And even if they stumble across video number 2 or 3 in YouTube search or through suggested video, and they watch that video, I'm still going to point them to that next video within the playlist, because now I have them from just like a video watch session into my own playlist environment, where it's a little bit harder for the viewer to get out of it. Suggested video is still there. It's a series playlist, so my next video will autoplay, but it's kind of like one of those things, if the user just sits back, kicks back and watches, what I think YouTube used to refer to it as, they have to make a physical choice, a conscious choice to get out of that series playlist environment. They have to click on another video or do another search. If they sit back and do nothing, it's going to go through that entire series playlist that I own and is all my content.
Oh, I like it. Awesome. That's really, really helpful. We got like half a page of notes already. Awesome. So we've got some comments here. Dole Whip Dad, Jeff, good to see you here. Absolutely getting value. Graham says, yes, getting tons of value. Says, be quiet. We're listening intently. I'm just like chiming in the chat here. That's awesome. Also, Dane Golden is in the house. Good to see you, Dane.
What's going on?
Yeah, good to see you. So it says, look at the audience retention and what it's ranking for on YouTube search. I'll bet those keywords make it rank on Google, as well as in a playable suggested clip. Actually, didn't know about suggested clips, so we'll have to dig into that, because Dane says he's thinking that this particular video is Google suggested clip. So that's great.
And real
awesome.
Quick shout. Dane actually did a video on his channel with the help of TubeBuddy, proving that if you say the word "you" in the first 10 seconds of your open, that helps audience retention. So go check out Dane's channel. And like I was talking about, not using closing language, the language that you use in the beginning of the video is just as important to keep the viewer engaged and keep them watching for as long as possible.
Got it.
So,
awesome.
Like let's move on to reach here real quick.
Sure.
And like I mentioned before, reach is all about traffic sources. So where is your content being searched and discovered on? And let's look at the last 90 days just to make it interesting on your channel. So we can see that, your viewership, your impressions are going up as you're creating more content. Let's filter it by views. And this kind of just goes all to that exponential growth. You haven't quite hit that swing yet, but I think you're right on the cusp of that. But you can tell by looking at this viewership graph, you are regularly uploading videos. And since about mid-March, your channel has really exploded, because you've taken advantage of this time to provide as much valuable content to somebody as possible, doing these live streams and your uploads and everything that you're doing. So I think this is the screen most people are familiar with, because this viewership funnel, or as some engineer named it, impressions and how they led to watch time, which is a terrible name. But if you look at YouTube lingo, and most of us just refer to this as the viewership funnel. And this really tells you how, starting with your title and thumbnail, that's an impression. Every time somebody sees that, that's an impression. If they click on it or not, a click turns into a view. So that gives you a view. Congratulations. But then the longer they watch and the average view duration generates more watch time. So that's why so many of, the YouTube experts always focus on title and thumbnails. If you want to, grow your channel and get as many eyeballs on it, start thinking about titles and thumbnails. And I don't want to get into that rabbit hole right now, but this viewership funnel just really visually shows why that's important. And if you think about the journey of the potential viewer as they're on the YouTube homepage, they have a lot of options. You are one of those 12 options. If they pick you or don't pick you, that sends a signal to YouTube. If they click on your video, that sends a signal to YouTube. If they leave your video within 20 seconds, that sends an even worse signal to YouTube, because they're like, okay, however I was trying to put that video in front of them, that person, they weren't interested in that content because they left so quickly. So traffic sources, the 6 kind of primary, or this will be your 6 largest traffic sources. This kind of fluctuates, but it's really interesting on the 4 cards, and I'm just calling them cards because I don't know what else to call them. Yep. YouTube always displays external playlist, YouTube search, and suggested video. We all know why there's YouTube search here, second largest search engine in the world. We all know why suggested is here. There are, about 60% of all channels traffic, and every channel, about 60% of their traffic should come from suggested video. There are outliers. There are channels that are 100% dependent on search, and that is A-okay. I work on a lot of those. You just really have to know what your channel's about, who your audience is, and what kind of value you're serving them. A how-to channel that is just kind of utility, like I have a problem, I need to learn how to fix it. Once I fix it, I move on in my life. You can make a YouTube career out of channels like that. The strategy for that is just different from like a vlogger or a entertainment channel. Playlists and external are kind of interesting choices in my mind. I would think a lot of creators would rather see like a highlight on their browse traffic, because that's all that traffic that's coming from the homepage in general, and how their videos are doing on browse when they first upload. So typically a video in the first 10 days gets most of its traffic from browse. That's where you see the largest percentage. Mm-hmm. And then after that 10 days, it kind of shifts more into either it's searched more or it's suggested more, depending on the content. And typically after about 10 days of a video being launched, if you look at your data, you can pretty much predict if a video is going to take off, be really successful on your channel, or if it's just kind of going to be like one of those videos that kind of performs average. But yeah, playlists and external are really interesting. I have some theories on that. I talk about that in my series, so I'm not going to waste people's time there, and go watch my video on that because I have some theories on what's coming up. And then the last one I really wanted to talk to before we get into the down and dirty is the engagement. Mm-hmm. So typically when we all talk about engagement in the past, we've always thought about engagement as likes, dislikes, shares, comments, adding to playlists, gaining subscribers, like that kind of engagement. And it's really interesting that YouTube is only showing watch time and average view duration on this overview chart. And that's really telling us what they care about in the data they want, because they can show us any data they want to, but they're purposely showing us that data. So I think the whole theory of, like, hey guys, like hit 300 slam the like button and kill it so we can get 3,000 likes on this video so it will do better in the algorithm, and all that crap that used to be like really popular about 2017 to 19 time period, that's thrown out the window, because you can go over to a website and buy like 10,000 likes for your YouTube video for probably $1 right now. Yeah. You can spend money to generate views to your traffic. You can spend money to generate fake comments to your thing. So YouTube doesn't use these metrics to gauge if a video is successful or not, because they don't really matter. Right. How long somebody watches and how much watch time in total is the most important engagement metric. So start thinking about that and less about comments. Mm-hmm. And then you will see down here, you do have the top video end screens, the end screen elements, and the cards. So those are also engagements, and those are meaningful engagements, because if, like we were talking before, if somebody makes it all the way to your end of your video and they see your end screen and they click on one of that tells YouTube that's a very active viewer and they enjoy this creator's content, because they watched the entire video, which is probably longer than most creators' average view duration. So they just helped your average view duration. If they clicked an end screen element, that's sending a signal to YouTube like, yes, I like this creator. It was really helpful for whatever reason, because they're either teaching me or entertaining me. I want to watch more of their content, and I'm actively picking the next video this creator wants me to watch. So that's really good. Most creators, like seeing the top videos by end screen is helpful because this tells you, okay, people watch the longest on these videos. But I think the more interesting data is what kind of in-screen element is being clicked on. So like you're getting a lot of clicks on videos, decent amount on playlists, and that best for viewer option. I don't know how often you're using all of that stuff up there. And, but think about that as you're moving forward. And then of course your card clicks, and cards have kind of always been like, the OGs of YouTube kind of all have mixed feelings on cards. Cards have always been way better than annotations, but not that much better. But, it's a free tool that we have to us. It's one more way that we can get people more into our viewership, more into our ecosystem, and get more views, more watch time, and try to convince them to become move from a passive viewer to a subscriber of your channel. And then from a subscriber to a fanatic of your channel, like a loyal subscriber, somebody that's engaged in the community. So, but the click-through rates on them just honestly aren't that great. And then I guess, of course, you have your audience. Rob's little post, I think last night that I saw, this is what we were talking about before. It's really cool though, how they say experimental.
Yeah.
Like in the past, like I've been like really analyzing YouTube channels and consuming YouTube from like a marketer and just a user for a long time. So I've seen a lot of A/B tests. Like I remember when you could make GIFs out of videos. I remember when there was like some you could rate videos. There's just been all these little A/B tests. And I've never seen something that says experimental before. So I think it's cool that like they're like, hey, we're just putting this here. We're not sure if it's going to stay. We're not sure if it's like YouTube, please don't explode about this. Like we're not trying to say anything. One of the things that they do really well in the studio analytics is they give context. And I think that was the number one complaint from creators is like, we're not data people, like what does all this really mean? So they kind of try to give you like the context of things like this and what does this really mean, especially around those metrics of like click-through rate and impressions and watch time and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, no, that's interesting. Also the line above it, it's like I think the long-term success of it says, I forget the actual verbiage there. If you go back, you'll probably see it. Says right below the graphs, like it has nothing to do with this. So it's interesting. Okay, yeah. So Jeff says amazing how you can deep dive into the analytics. I think you can like probably spend days in here. So this is
we haven't even started deep diving. I'm like still like 1,000 feet deep. We're about to go like 10,000 feet deep.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to show you guys some really cool stuff. But yeah, it's before classic analytics, if anybody's ever used it, it was just like this long navigation and it was kind of broken up in a logical way, but it's like you click it, it's all black and white. It like just like this one little line graph. You couldn't really interact with it and really see stuff and get to stuff easily. So they've done a really good job. And I was a big hater of this, and like early, like October of 18 is like when they first introduced it. And I was like, okay, yeah, it was kind of cool. Yeah. And then 19, I was like, I just felt like they were stripping out so much data because they hadn't ported it over yet. And I'm like, this really isn't useful for a marketer. Like it's cool for a creator that just kind of like wants to see some surface stuff and get the 10,000 foot, but they've really, they've developed this product way better than they've ever developed anything else in like YouTube's history. So I will give them that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really quick, sorry, Josh. Valentina, yes, this is recorded. So if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, yeah, you can watch a replay anytime.
So yeah, the last thing to note is kind of like this subscriber notifications. I know like notifications came out sometime like around 2010. It's cool that, again, they're being transparent and saying like how many people have actually like asked for notifications from your channel, and then how many of those have all channel notifications on, because there's this huge topic in 17. Oh, that doesn't even work. Like I know, like I have 300,000 subscribers, but like when I put a video out, it only gets like 1,500 views. YouTube's not promoting my content to my subscribers, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of like really when we started shifting from like this archaic subscriber feed and more to like a suggestion engine as opposed to a search engine. which there's still a lot of debate on that. I think it works as both, but YouTube's definitely focused more on suggestion than search. But I like how they give these numbers to us so we actually know how these features are performing us. And then they also, on some metrics, they're like, typically on YouTube, 5 to 20% have this, typically 10 to 30% have this. So it's just nice that they're being transparent, because that hasn't always been the case. Last thing for top countries, and this kind of helps getting to like, when should I post? This little blue chart over here is nifty, but like seeing if you have an audience outside of US. Now, something like 90% of all YouTube traffic in the world comes and is generated from the US. That's kind of like the US, Canada, Mexico is the big spot for it. But I have noticed, and if you just kind of look at like the world in general and like what's been happening, India and Brazil are those two BRIC nations that are really going through this huge economic development through technology. So we're all going to see in the next 12 to 36 months, more and more traffic is being generated from these countries, because more people in these places are being put on the internet for the first time. And have access to YouTube, and it's over there, and there's a partner program, and all of this. So everybody always asks me about, like, oh, should I close caption my stuff? Is that going to help me as a normal creator? And for 90% of creators, I will say most likely it's not going to help you that much. That's just my opinion. Where I would spend time in it is if I started noticing that, typically it was the Philippines, but India or Brazil, if I started noticing that more than 10% of my total traffic was coming from these countries, that's about the threshold where I would say, okay, I'm starting to develop a small portion of an audience there, and 10% is worth noting. So maybe I should take my top content that does really well and spend some money to close caption that content, just to make it a little easier for people that have English as a second language to consume. So you could either put it in their native language, whatever that would be, or you could just pay the money to make sure your closed captions in English are better, because at best, YouTube automated captions are like 80%. And you can go out to a service like Rev and get 99.1% accuracy for like $1.25 a minute. So,
Josh, did you say 10% of your traffic, of your views from those countries? What was the minimum sort of like threshold that you're thinking?
My minimum threshold is 10%, because if 10%. I'm like, I'm getting 10% of my traffic from there, that would be worth me noting. If it's like, like right now you're at 4 to like 7%, I was like, that could just be an off thing. And I would watch that for probably about 6 months. And I would say, okay, in the last 6 months, it's been consistently that 10%. So there is an audience or something developing down there. If I spoke Spanish fluently, I would 100% be using VPN and have a YouTube channel based in Brazil and be the YouTube expert in Spanish. But unfortunately, I am not bilingual, so I can't take advantage of that.
You know what? In super transparent speaking, like, so I'm from the Philippines, and I did notice that whenever I do keyword research, it would be like, let's say StreamYard. It'd be like StreamYard tutorials Tagalog, right? Like Filipino. Like, why is that coming up? Like, is that something that people are looking for? And, I've always been kind of like, I wonder if I should make a Filipino, Tagalog speaking, because I speak fluently, but I'm just I'm like, why is that?
I think you should a few times over there, because think about like just knowing our industry, especially the video industry, but even like small businesses, like everybody's leveraging virtual assistants now. Most of those virtual assistants are based in Vietnam, Philippines, sometimes in Egypt, sometimes in the UK. Yeah. But those are general, like the larger spots, like when you go on those websites where you find that. So a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong or anything, like especially I used to be a video editor. I can't make money editing YouTube videos, even though I could do it really well, because I live in the United States. I have to make more money. And they're like, for $20, I can get somebody over here to do it, which is fine. It's free economy. It's just the way we all have to adapt. But a lot of YouTube channels, small business owners, are leveraging a workforce of virtual assistants that are based there. So there's probably a lot of YouTubers that are using virtual assistants and giving them like the 10-minute spiel on what they think, how to optimize a YouTube video, and they're paying them for that. So dude, you could be the YouTube expert in, you know, the Philippines. I would test that. I would create like 10 videos and launch them and target it there. I would tag them in the Philippines and do the titles and translations, everything in that, and just wait 3 to 6 months to see if you gain traction there. And see if nothing else, you make them unlisted, or you just say it was an experiment. So, so let's go 10,000 feet deep. So on any one of these screens, and typically anytime you see the see more, that launches what they call advanced mode. And this is where I spend a lot of my time.
Nice. So
right now, what's so great about the advanced mode is it allows you to look at your channel from different points of view. So we have the channel, we have the video, which I showed like the simple video. This kind of gives you a little bit more. Then you have groups and playlists. So playlists are pulled from your channel. You actually have to physically make groups. I have an entire video on this. I downloaded your channel, Rob. I made groups for the sake of the course. Nice. They're all made and developed there. I'm going to be using these. Because I typically look at channel level. I look at individual videos that are hanging out to me to try to figure out like, why did they suddenly take off? Why did it suddenly tank? You know, that kind of thing. For me, looking at a channel through a playlist mindset, very few channels can really get good data that way. You know, if you want to see how this playlist is performing, if you're pushing ads to it, if you've used TubeBuddy and pushed every card at 10 seconds to show this playlist and you want to see if there's a spike in traffic, that's useful. But for me, it's mainly about groups. And what groups are.
I've never used groups. I've never even heard about it. I'm not even joking.
I want to see this right now. Chat in the group and let me know if you use groups. Just yes or no.
Yeah.
Like, have you even heard of groups? Because every time I go into a consultation with like a creator or a brand, and I've done something like 800 consultations with creators. Yeah. I think there's been like 5 that actually knew what groups were about. So
yeah. Jeff's saying never seen it. Yeah. Eileen, I think sounds like she's heard about it. Need help with knowing which videos to group together. So Adrian says, nope, never heard of it. So I'm not alone. Yeah, that's good.
You're not alone. It was like this feature that was buried deep. And like I said, it was just this small little thing. And it was like, make groups. And I'm like, what is this? And when I started doing it, when I was working for major brands, it really helped. So what groups are, is they're just basically custom ways you can group your content together. And I'm a really big fan of every channel needs to have different pillars or groups of content to make it sustainable. So like Rob, real quick, I downloaded your stuff. Yep. And you can do that. So like filter by lifetime on your channel, and you can download this view. You can get a Google Doc or an Excel, and what everybody needs to do this. And then I just basically went through that Excel and I just made different tabs, and I'll email it to you. And if there's enough interest, I'll show it, but it's just a boring Excel. And I just kind of go through the titles and the video IDs. That's all I delete all the information out of it. I keep titles and video IDs because that's all I care about. And I just look at the titles and I start sorting in this Excel of different content groups that I'm seeing. So like Rob's channel, you do a lot of live streams, which is kind of like the creator's corner. Yeah. You talked about LinkedIn a lot. So I put that over there. You vlogged for a while, and I think you still do. It's just harder to vlog now. So I put all your vlogs in a group. Yeah. And then I put all of your anything talking about live streaming, I put in a group because there was a substantial amount of content there. And then you just had like this miscellaneous kind of like how-to tutorial group from like iMovie to screen captures to like all this other stuff. So I sorted your content on this. And then why I do this is because this really allows me to then go into the compare version. And let's just kind of look at OnDemand. So it's really important, like when you're comparing. So what I'm doing is I'm comparing the channel as a whole, which is in blue, to just Rob's OnDemand content. So that basically means stuff he's uploaded, not live streams. Right. And there's 69 videos in this group, and we can really see as of lately, these lines almost mirror each other. So live streams have really been driving Rob's channel because he's basically been doing that. I think on-demand content.
On-demand. Okay.
On-demand content has been driving the channel. So we can then go and look at, I think I didn't break out the streaming stuff. Well, the creators corner is basically all your live stream stuff. So the creators corner purple thing right here is just, that little blip compared to the whole channel.
Got it.
But let's just go the last 90 days. And it's really important when you're comparing, you have to make sure you're looking through the same lens, the same date range. So this is just the last 90 days, Rob's entire channel compared to everything that he's doing, including like stuff like this from the Creators Corner. So you can see that definitely your on-demand content is driving your channel. And, the live stream stuff, it's like, yeah, you can see there's like little mirrors in the bumps.
Right.
So, but most people, I think if they looked at this would say, well, dude, Rob, just stop live streaming. It's not helping your channel. It may be hurting it. And I don't agree with that.
Right.
And here's why. I take a step back is one, if you look at this, you can see that the live streams are producing a bump. They're lifting all your other content. So when you live stream and you bring people towards your channel, that gives all your other stuff a bump organically. Is it a whole lot right now? No, but your channel is only like 10 months old? It's a new channel. So it's really hard to like talk in like the longevity of the channel, but you are getting a bump. The other thing I would say is meeting you right before you really started doing all this. You started vlogging and you were with one company, now you're with another company and you started live streaming, but I've watched you in 10 months go from basically 0 to 1,000 subscribers, which not a lot of people have done that. And I would say that one of the reasons that has happened is because you've been live streaming so much and inviting, and you do have the Creators Corner. So in this span, you've actually created 2 communities on 2 different platforms that both have over 1,000 members in them.
Yep.
And live streaming was really what helped bridge that.
Totally.
So I think that's the live streaming is the value that people were looking for when they joined the Facebook group. Because why should I join your group over in yours to teach everybody for free? And you just have to be a member of the group. So it's really helped cultivate that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that was one of the interesting things I saw.
That is interesting. That's really telling though. That's really interesting. Like even if you didn't say that, I would have been like, oh, maybe the live streams don't really do much for the channel. But yes, it definitely, like, even noticing the little bumps on the on-demand content, would never have noticed that or come to that conclusion. Yeah.
And then here's another thing is, so like I broke it down a little bit further, and now we're looking at your how-to content in the blue and your streaming content, which is still like tutorial content, but it's specific to like streaming.
Yep.
And you can see that a lot of your interest in your channel right now is about streaming. Like we saw that in the one video that we talked about, just by coincidence, like this video took off because there's so much interest in that, because you are live streaming and you're teaching people how to live stream. That's useful. So one of the things I would tell you, and I think you're starting it just based on your content, you need to have an entire quick series on like start to finish how to set StreamYard up and do live streams with StreamYard. I know you're experimenting with Ecamm a little bit. Like once you figure that out, use the Ecamm thing. There's a tons of like Be Live, all of that stuff. Do you want to do all of them? No, but having those series content, it's basically like, what's the easiest way? Like how to set up a live stream in YouTube on the back end. That's kind of complicated, but doing it like here, you can do this, or for like whatever, like $400 a year, you can use this StreamYard thing. And it's really easy to have your own produced show. Or you can go and do this and you can use your DSLRs and bring more production value to it, things like that. So this is an indication of what your audience is currently cares about. And it's worth it. So because your streaming content is way bigger than your other stuff. So you can look at this. So
that's really helpful.
That's the comparing.
I Eileen says, can you give an example of another group for Rob's channel? So I think, yeah, that's another example there. But
yeah, so
what other...
let's look at his LinkedIn tips as
Mm-hmm.
to oppose his how-to. So these are all the groups that I just kind of created. Or let's look at your vlogs. So looking in the same frame period, the last 90 days, your LinkedIn stuff has been wildly successthe.
Yeah.
So I would say like you're two, like you have all these different categories, and I'm not going to say like one is better than the other or anything like that. I think it's a little too early to tell that, but I will say that the majority of your views, just looking at this, your audience does care about LinkedIn and streaming tips. So, if you want to double down on that, I would maybe, if you were like, should I vlog today about being quarantined and having my home office, or should I create this really cool video on LinkedIn? If you wanted to kind of have a decision based on data, I would say go with the LinkedIn to try to get more viewership. But it ultimately depends down to like, and I talk to a lot of creators about this, like, all I do is color, do these marker colors and put it to techno music. And I've been doing that for like 3 years and I hate it, but it's the one thing that's successful. And it's like, okay, well, if you're miserable doing it, like rip the Band-Aid off and do what you're passionate about. There's a lot of creators. That's why all that stuff about creative fatigue and creator burnout, because there's so many of these YouTubers that feel like they have to keep on creating content they don't care about.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, you kind of corner yourself into a specific thing. It's like, if I don't make this kind of content, nobody will watch and I can't do what I enjoy. So yeah, I feel like I'm in that place now. I do like live streaming, so I enjoy creating that content. So yeah, it's interesting, but that's really telling. I never knew about groups, guys. So if you guys are watching this, let me know if this is blowing your mind. And also, Josh, I think it's really important. If I was watching this right now, like, how can I learn how to set up groups from you? Is that something you're creating, some type of resource or anything? If anyone's here, because a lot of people don't have groups set up.
I have a video on it that I'm editing right now on like how to basically download your entire channel, sort through all that stuff, upload it. And that's why, just real quickly, if anybody downloads it, download your channel from lifetime point of view, keep the video IDs and everything. And I'll show you real quickly the groups. You just create a new group. You can name it. And YouTube gives you like displays everything, but you don't really want to go through, every video one-on-one. You can go add video IDs. And that's why I said I keep the video IDs. So then I have a column of like all these vlogs and I have 35 video IDs. I just copy and paste that into here and YouTube generates the group for me. And I just click save instead of going through each individual video and like, okay, what's this title? And it's that one. And then So that's how I create groups.
I love it.
And it's just basically whatever content you've put out, how does that work? So
Graham says blowing his mind through an emoji, of course. Kame's asking a really good question. And maybe there's no direct answer here, Josh, but what's your thought process with this question is, do you feel it's better to post more content per week if you can do it consistently once a day, or keep it to once or twice a week, even if you could produce more per week? So like, I know Salma Jaffrey, right? She's an awesome creator, super brilliant, and she does live streams on the TubeBuddy channel. So she batch records, I think for like 2 weeks ahead, like every Saturday or Sunday, she'll batch record like 7, 8 videos. And then, she doesn't post it every day. She'll post it like throughout the next 2 weeks, I think, or throughout, the next few weeks. But she's doing that again systematically. So
thoughts? Now that I'm looking at your question, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. It all just boils down to quality of life for you. And that's what leads to a lot of creator burnout is if you can batch record your content, you have a channel and a content structure to where you can sit down and record for, 4, 6, 8, 10 videos in one day. and edit them really easily and get that kind of schedule, and then use either YouTube or TubeBuddy to kind of like schedule that stuff out so you can take breaks, like when your kids get sick or you get sick or you need to go on a vacation or you're just really not feeling it for a week and you need a break. You can maintain that schedule and do the batch recording and do 2-3 times a week. Do it. If you are starting to get burned out, or you're kind of doing it to where you can't really get ahead, I would say just ease it back. There's this one thing, was Sean McKnight said this, and he's like, he's kind of been, Forbes named them the first YouTube millionaires because they had 3 channels from 3 different generations of their family that all had over 1 million subscribers.
Jeez.
And yeah, dude, like they're a powerhouse here in Dallas. But he said one of the reasons he thinks that their channels always exploded, especially their daughter's channel, they have twin girls named Brooklyn and Bailey, and their channel exploded, is one of the things they've always done is they've just only done 1 video a week. And he said, like looking at it, and his thought process on it was they were always leaving the audience wanting more, because they were only getting 1 video a week. So when they uploaded the next video, and I think they do like Sunday nights or something like that, like their audience was craving it. They were ready, and it became a ritual. When Casey Neistat was uploading daily content and I was working at my first agency, I took a break between like 10 and 11:30 every day because I was on YouTube working on clients. But as soon as I noticed that Casey video on the homepage, I like clocked out and I took my 10-minute break, and that became part of my daily routine. While he was uploading daily content, if you can put out like 1 really high quality piece of content, once a week, and make that a part of your audience's routine, that's more powerful than uploading more content. You could also use something like groups to look at, okay, this is the stuff that I kind of mass produced, and these are the videos that like we took the extra time on, and that, we put more production value in, we spent more time editing, like we were really proud of them, and compare those two and see, okay, does the quality get more watch time and views? Is the average view duration longer? Do those videos increase more? And look at the data behind them. And you have to kind of just remember, if you're comparing 30 videos to 10 videos, that's going to be skewed a little bit, and YouTube doesn't give you that, like you have to think of that bias. Of course, this group may do a little bit better because there's 3 times as much content as there. But if this is still making up, the 10 videos still makes up 40 to 60% of those total views, or 40 to 60% of this group, it's like, okay, well, I did 1/3 of the time and got 60% of the results. That's enough for me to make that. But then you as the creator just have to make that decision.
You have to make that decision. Yeah, Graham says he's literally doing that right now with the 2 screens. Graham's the best, man.
And this is kind of gets back into experimenting and testing, and I'll just leave it on this and we can do some questions. Like if you're going to do a test, think about it as eliminating as many variables as possible. Totally. And YouTube is like a shotgun blast of variables. But I work with a lot of brands where they'll do like 3 videos, and they'll be like, okay, well, did that like drastically change the thing? So think about it. Okay, I'm going to do a test. Let's do 10 videos, and let's make sure that they all come out on a very consistent time. This is where things like, okay, we're going to release them on Monday at 10 a.m. for the next 10 weeks, because you're eliminating that variable of like when you release the video. But you're going to do it and get a decent sample size, and then pull that into a group and look at that as a whole, because those 10 videos, you're going to have 1 really awesome one, 3 to 4 average one, and you're probably going to have like 3 that just ultimately didn't do anything and they were bombs, because YouTube is somewhat of a numbers game. So you have to have like enough points to kind of filter that out and look at it.
I like it. I like that. Questions, guys, send them in. We're going to do some Q&A now. Josh, thanks for hanging out, man. We're past an hour now, but that was super, super helpful. So guys, drop your questions in the chat, and yeah, let's pick Josh's brain here. Josh, with groups, I'm wondering. So then you can essentially see all the data points for groups, right? So
Yeah.
you can see like which groups produce the most subscribers, that sort of thing, like all those like fine data points.
Yeah, so subscription source, you can look at it. Yeah, so by default, it will give you subscribers gained. And then the real important thing with groups is they've given us a lot of stuff over here. And I think sharing service, this is the only place I've been able to find like how your videos are being shared on YouTube. That used to be its own screen.
Right.
So that's in the advanced mode. That's important to look at. They finally are made it a little bit easier. Let me find it. YouTube product. Nope. Publish format. So this is really interesting, is they're breaking apart, your uploaded content, your live content, which you've been able to compare. A lot of people didn't know that, but now they're putting premieres in there because there's a lot of conversation of like, oh, I tried a premiere, it didn't really do anything. So our premieres, because it's not a live stream, but you're viewing an uploaded piece of content live with your audience and you still have that live chat. So the publish format's an interesting view. I spend most of my time over in the traffic sources.
Okay.
Because of course you can dig in more. So like browse features, like we talked about, anything that has a blue link, you can basically go into it. And they've really cleaned up browse recently. And then, of course, we can go and look at YouTube search. How are people searching for it? Dude, you're actually ranking for... You haven't gotten a lot of search on these. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was like, one view. I was on the opposite filter. I was like least to greatest. So you're getting a lot of search traffic from Restream.
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, I think I definitely need to use that tool more. But actually, I'm glad that you mentioned, the groups with live streaming, and that's what most people are coming here to my channel for. Is because actually, if you go to my playlist or my recent videos, even like I'm starting a whole series on StreamYard. So there's like 28 videos, from setting up your account to like multi-streaming, bringing guests on, things like that. So again, like I noticed it, but I didn't really have the data, but this confirms that data. So confirms those decisions. This is good. Jeff has a question here. Literally starting my channel this week and have no content. Is there a template to follow to build a channel and videos? Oof, that's a... Where would you start? So Josh, like if you were just starting out your channel, like where would you start? Like what's some resources? I mean, there's so many different experts out there and stuff,
I would really think if you haven't done absolutely anything, I would think about, okay, what's the really high level? Do I want to educate, entertain, or inspire? All of YouTube can kind of be broken up into those three categories.
Totally.
And figure out which category you want to be in. Really great people, and I mean like the top 3% can educate and entertain at the same time. So they kind of become this hybrid powerhouse, but stick with one. Most of us are going to start out with educating, and then it's like, what do I want to educate or become a thought leader on? And figure that out, and then map out about 20 pieces of content around that topic. And, think about it of, like, I don't know anything about your business. Like if you sell a particular product or service, like for a brand, obvious thing is kind of like the videos to start out with are always the ones that are going to be the worst for you on YouTube, but like the overview video, like who you are, what's your company about, the product videos, like how do you use this one product of mine. Sorry, my kid just tried to...
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I was like, we're about to have a visitor. Crash course. Live stream. But like if you sell 5 physical products, like do product videos on that and how to use that stuff. That's kind of like your base, which will grow over time. But then I would encourage you to think, okay, even more outside of that. So like I'm a YouTube expert. I do stuff around YouTube tips. That's kind of like the really broad part of my channel. I'm teaching brands how to grow YouTube, but more narrowed down is this analytics thing. That's very search driven. So you got to think of like what's the very like little series you can do that are very narrow and niche and evergreen for you. But then you have to think about your channel on a higher level of like, what does the industry that I'm in care about? Like, what are the conversations we're having? What are the trends we're having? There's a reason why you saw like every channel 3 months ago talking about how much money I made off a million view video or how much money I make on AdSense. Like all of a sudden, everybody was just doing it. Because it was a trend that kind of crossed genres. You know, it picked up somewhere and it got a lot of traction. So everybody in that genre did it. And then, you know, a beauty vlogger saw it and they're like, well, this is how much I make on my beauty channel. It was just something that everybody did. Everybody talked about the bomb of YouTube Rewind 2019. You know, so like there's these kind of like site-wide trends. And then there's like more narrow trends. So like for me and like Rob, we're a little bit more camera guys. So like a trend, a universal trend, yearly trend in our kind of little vertical is what's in my camera bag 2020, where I literally just, you can't see it because it's black and my couch is black, but my camera bag's sitting there and people do a video of like, this is everything that I have in my camera bag. These are all the gadgets. This is how I pack it. This is my thoughts on it, da, da, da. And it's just those videos where camera gearheads are interested in and they want to see what everybody else is using and all that gear they can't afford because it's all expensive.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of trends and things like that. Really quick plug, really quick plug for Jeff too. Like we do a TubeBuddy 101. So we talk about how to get started with TubeBuddy, but a big part of that is really how to get started on YouTube for a lot of the people that attend. So I'm gonna switch really quickly here, but TubeBuddy 101. So TubeBuddy.com/101. It's totally free. There's no strings attached or anything. We're not trying to sell you anything. We really just want to help people get started on TubeBuddy. But to get started with TubeBuddy, it's kind of like also a bit of an introduction to YouTube. And so we talk a lot about, talking about your pillar content, like your categories that you want to talk about, what Josh is mentioning there. Awesome. See Mark with Boostly. Good to see you here, man. Really good to see you here. I know Josh just hung out with you there in your community. So guys, by the way, if you guys need someone to come into your group or into your community to talk about these things, YouTube strategies, analytics, how to do YouTube properly and grow your channel, Josh is your guy. So just reach out to him. He just did an awesome session with in Mark's community of hospitality business owners. So reach out to Josh. He's a great resource for that. Got a question, Barb. I see your question. I'm going to ask that really quickly here soon, but Adrian had a question here. I think this is a long answer here, but I have a question. What's a great way to increase CTR? So click-through rate. That's a big question.
It's a big question. Here's one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about. CTR changes over time. So if you look at an individual video, and I'll just show you guys over here. So we'll just go back to like Rob's Restream. Go to the reach. So his total click-through rate on this video for the lifetime since published is 11%. That's actually a really great click-through rate. I'm not going to lie. Why is that such a great click-through rate? One, it's Rob's face. I like the Be Heard shirt. But he's also how to connect Facebook Restream.io. And you notice he has the Facebook logo in there. He has the Restream logo in there, and he's saying how to connect them. So like really quickly, I may not know who this bald Filipino dude is, but I know he's going to talk about this big program, Restream.io, that I just paid for. He's going to teach me how to connect it through Facebook. I know all of that that's the story his thumbnail is telling. His title, if we hover over it, it's actually Restream Facebook Live Tutorial, which isn't, it gets the point across. It was probably like really search driven. I would consult, like if I were to play around with this, I would probably reformat the title and like how to connect Facebook to Restream in like 90 seconds or 2 minutes or something like that. Make it shorter, more declarative, and give a frame reference of time. But if you look at this video, so he published it June of 19. I'm going to go over to custom. And I'm gonna kick. Let's see.
Oh, like in the first 30 days or something.
at it for the first 10 days, give or take.
Yep.
So 19 to 29. Apply. So in that first 10 days, his click-through rate was actually 9.3. So you just got to know, and what I'm trying to say is the longer a video is out on YouTube means more impressions it's going to get. So your click-through rate is actually probably going to decline. Like as impressions go up, the click-through rate is probably going to decline. Yep. So you got to be like really hesitant of sometimes people post stuff on like Facebook groups and everything. You're like, oh, I got like 23% click-through rate on my new video. I was like, yeah, no joke. It's only been there for like 12 hours. It's all relative to how long it's been there. So, and the other thing is like a lot of creators look at, like click-through rate. Let me get out of the video and just look at it from like a 90-day standpoint. This is like, so now we're down to like 6.2. This is Rob's entire channel over the course of 90 days, averaged together. His click-through rate is that. So just be careful when you're looking at click-through rate and how to improve it. You have to really look at like what videos did you do something different? Look at those videos individually and look at them from like the first 10 days, look at them from the first 28, look at them from the first 90 days to really get that entire picture of the click-through rate. And then a lot of people just like look at their channel as a whole, and like typical, I think it's probably most channels are between like 3 and 6% when you're looking at the channel level. So they're like, oh, how do I improve it? Like go find and look at the videos that are individual, like go into advanced mode. Go all your videos, filter by like 90 days is probably good. And then filter by your impression click-through rate. And so I would say do that on your channel and look at this one has 14.9%. His Osmo has 14.8. Anything that is probably about 9 or higher, I'd really look at those thumbnails and see, okay, what did I do in those titles and thumbnails? Like what worked? Why do they have such high click-through rates? And then take it one step further, look at all of these videos as an individual analytic. Here's that graph I was telling you about that. So that gray is Rob's typical video performance. And this one, the blue line, you can really see it's outperforming the typical video at this point in time. But you need to look at the title, you need to look at the thumbnail, and then you need to also tie that into your audience retention, because the first 30 seconds of that video is really critical of, like the title and the thumbnail got the click, but then the first 30 seconds, that hook, that intro, that getting into the topic, if he did that short and concise, and I knew this video was really for like what I needed it to be, I'm going to watch that video longer. And videos that have longer average view duration will always be promoted more. Get people watching your content longer. So it's part of it is that whole title thumbnail is one part of the story to get the click, to improve the click-through rate. After that, you need to look at your audience tension. How can you like really analyze each one of your videos on this graph? I'm an editor and I'm like walking into this. I'm editing my first stuff right now. And I'm like, this stuff's so long-winded. And the audience retention is going to be terrible on it. But I'm really gaming that, people long-term are going to need this information. So these videos aren't going to do stellar, but I really do feel like this analytics series, at least for my channel, is going to be like a powerhouse for the next probably 12 months. Because it's just evergreen content. There's always going to be new creators coming on YouTube trying to learn about analytics. And if I explain it well and show everybody like this, which I'm hoping I'm doing for you guys, that those videos will get traction and be kind of like those tentpole videos on my channel.
No, this is like really useful content, and I mean, I talk to a lot of, YouTube creators, and analytics is just one of those things that we just look at a very surface level on, and nobody deep dives, quite like this. And I like what you said there about like long-term content. I was talking to Dusty Porter, mutual friend of ours, and he doesn't look so much at like 24 hours or, like very short term. He creates videos that he wants to last for like 5 years. that's like relevant for like
Could
5
be a
years.
very long year search. And if nobody listens to Dusty's the TubeBuddy Express podcast, I've been a guest on it like once, long time ago, but it's great, and it's just kind of like that relevant, you know, YouTube thing. And him and I had a great conversation about subscribers and our odd thoughts on our subscribers even worth it, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time. That's a great talk. Awesome. So I'm just scrolling here, and I think we've answered quite a lot of the questions. There's a quick question here from Barbara Hopesh. So she's wondering, when you decide to go live, should you always stream to YouTube and Facebook simultaneously? No real clear like one answer to that, Barbara. So it's just kind of like, where is your audience and where do you want to build your audience? You know, so when I started Creators Corner, actually, we used to go live on LinkedIn Live as well. And you'll notice that this stream is not on LinkedIn Live because we're finding that actually that's not the audience. You know, they're not quite there. They're there, but they're not there for the live stream. So just sharing something on a personal level there.
My thought on that would be, first of all, this is what I'm dealing with a lot of brands. Like if you're going to live stream, you have to figure out like who your audience is and what social media platform do you have to do that. Now, I think if you're trying to build a audience on 2 different platforms to diversify your audience, which is really smart. Live stream to your Facebook group or your Facebook, video creator page and your YouTube channel and do that. One thing I have to advise a lot of people of is what I have always found is Facebook is good to get lots of impressions in those surface level views, whereas watch time or YouTube still provides the quality. And what I mean by that is a lot of people and brands have spent the last 5 years building up their Facebook platforms. So their audience is literally sometimes like 1,000% bigger on Facebook than it is YouTube. And when you stream to both of those platforms simultaneously, they're like, well, we got 10,000 views over on Facebook, but we only got like 1,000 over or like 100 on YouTube. So like 10,000 over here, 100, why should we stream to YouTube? But when you dive into the analytics, you can say, okay, well on Facebook, literally 10 people watch that live stream for longer than a minute. Whereas over on YouTube, those 100 people all watched for like 3.5 to 4, 5, whatever minutes. So the audience is way more engaged on YouTube than it is Facebook. So I think if you're going to live stream, it's a great way to build community. It's very low barrier to entry. It's easy, it's repeatable, and it's a great way to build your audience on 2 different platforms. You just have to realize what are the habits of each audience on that. We see it, and Rob can probably say, and he won't hurt my feelings, he knows how many people are in this thing. And I think, doesn't StreamYard break it down from like YouTube and no, it gives you total. But if we were to look at this live stream in a tab, there's probably way more people on Facebook than there is YouTube because he's broadcasting to his group. But the watch time might be drastically different. So.
Yeah, that's so true. And you say behavior, that's very true. Like even if you look at your own behavior, you're not gonna sit and watch a very long video or live stream on Facebook. But when you go to YouTube, you're kind of like, you're mentally like, okay, well, I'm just gonna hang out and kind of, relax and binge watch or play it in the background on YouTube, right? So that's really good advice. Yeah. Very good. Okay, I'm just gonna go through here, Josh. Man, appreciate we're almost at like an hour and a half here. So I think it's probably a good time to, and I hate to say, I need to learn how to like shut a video down without saying I'm gonna shut it down. But
you guys don't have to go home, but you got to get off my stream because we're about to kill it.
Exactly.
No,
but
Josh, I actually have another live stream I have to do in 30 minutes. So like,
all right.
You're not going to hurt my feelings. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, we got to get you back. You're like the regular resident YouTube expert now here. So where can they connect with you, learn more about groups? You're talking about a new course as well and a new series on analytics and stuff like that. So where can they find all that stuff?
Yeah, go over to YouTube and search for Video Joshua. You'll see my face and a TubeBuddy shirt probably. There's not a lot of content right there, but if you guys want to subscribe to that channel, I make a solemn oath to you. There are 20 videos I'm editing right now. So
Nice.
by the end of this month, hopefully there's going to be a whole thing on analytics. There's going to be something about optimization. I'm going to start getting more broader and talking about crazy things like, do subscribers even matter? And don't subscribe to my channel, things like that, just taking a different point of view on it. So if you guys can subscribe over there, mean the world to me. If you want to hit me up on a message, I'm stalk way more people on Instagram than anywhere else. Video Joshua on Instagram, follow me there, send me a message. I'm way more responsive there than Facebook, but I'm on all the platforms. So wherever you want to follow me, I'll follow you too.
Perfect. Awesome. Graham says #bring Josh back. So we definitely need to bring you back on, man. That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna put exactly. So yeah, I'll put all the links to Josh's social channels and YouTube channel, everything. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been really fun. Josh, I learned so much, man. Like literally have like pages of notes here. So I'm gonna go
and now you're going to be messing with your channel because all those groups are already made for you. And
I know, man.
I did the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, no, I know. And honestly, the groups, if nothing else, I think that's what you guys need to take away from this. I think that's super helpful and makes you, if you're tossing around like 4 or 5 different topics for your channel, I think groups, what you showed there will help you decide the top 2 things that brings whatever you want to your channel, growth, subscribers, views, whatever it is. But awesome. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend and be safe out there. Josh, just hang out for a couple minutes, man. And we'll catch up.
Later, guys.
See you guys.